There exists within the human mind a magnificent power, a force so extraordinary that when properly harnessed, it transforms ordinary individuals into millionaires, dreamers into achievers, and wishful thinkers into masters of their destiny. This power is not reserved for the privileged few, not locked away in some secret vault, accessible only to those born with silver spoons. No, this power resides within you at this very moment, waiting to be awakened, waiting to be directed toward the creation of wealth, success, and abundance beyond your wildest imagination. The wealthy understand this power. They have learned to channel it. And today, you will discover not just what this power is, but exactly how to wield it through 15 specific habits that separate millionaires from the masses. The first and most fundamental habit that every millionaire cultivates is the unwavering commitment to positive thinking, but not the shallow, surface-level optimism that fades at the first sign of difficulty. I speak of a deep, unshakable belief system that views every setback as a setup for a comeback, every failure as valuable feedback, every closed door as redirection toward a better opportunity. When you examine the lives of the wealthy, you discover that they possess an almost supernatural ability to find the seed of equivalent benefit in every adversity. They understand that thoughts are things, that what you focus on expands, and that your mind is like a garden where you can plant seeds of prosperity or weeds of poverty. The choice is always yours, and millionaires choose their thoughts as carefully as they choose their investments. They wake each morning and deliberately program their minds for success, flooding their consciousness with images of achievement, visualizing their goals as already accomplished, feeling the emotions of victory before the battle is even fought. This is not mere positive thinking. This is mental programming at its highest level. And when you make this your first habit, you set in motion forces that will astound you with their power to attract wealth and opportunity into your life. Building upon this foundation of positive thinking, the second habit that defines millionaires is their obsession with setting clear, specific, written goals, accompanied by detailed plans and deadlines for their achievement. While the masses drift through life, hoping that good things will happen to them, millionaires know exactly what they want, when they want it, and precisely how they intend to get it. They understand that a goal is nothing more than a dream with a deadline, and they treat their goals with the reverence of sacred contracts made with themselves. Every morning they review these goals. Every evening they measure their progress, and every decision they make is filtered through the question of whether it moves them closer to or further from their objectives. They know that the human mind is a goal-seeking mechanism, that when you give it a clear target, it automatically begins to devise ways to hit that target. But when you leave it without direction, it wanders aimlessly through life, accumulating mediocrity instead of millions. The wealthy write their goals down because they understand that there is something almost magical about the act of putting pen to paper, something that transforms a mere wish into a burning desire, something that activates the subconscious mind and enlists its tremendous power in the pursuit of achievement. They create vision boards. They visualize their goals daily. They speak about them with passion and conviction, and they take immediate action toward their accomplishment, no matter how small that action might be. This habit of goal setting and achievement becomes so ingrained in the millionaire mindset that it operates automatically, constantly driving them forward, constantly expanding their vision of what is possible, constantly creating new levels of success and abundance. The third habit that millionaires practice religiously is continuous learning and self-improvement, understanding that knowledge is the new money, and that in our rapidly changing world, what you learned yesterday may be obsolete tomorrow. They are voracious readers, consuming books, articles, reports, and studies related to their field and beyond, always seeking new information, new perspectives, new strategies that can give them an edge in the marketplace. But they do not read casually or haphazardly. They read with purpose, taking notes, highlighting key concepts, discussing ideas with others, and most importantly, implementing what they learn immediately. They attend seminars, workshops, and conferences, not as passive observers, but as active participants, asking questions, making connections, gathering intelligence that can be transformed into income. They seek out mentors and coaches and understanding that the investment in personal development is the highest return investment they can make, that one idea, one insight, one new skill can be worth millions of dollars over the course of a lifetime. They study the lives and strategies of other successful people, not to copy them exactly, but to extract principles and adapt them to their own circumstances and goals. They understand that leaders are readers, that the wealthy person is simply someone who has better information and acts on it more quickly than the poor person. They make learning a daily habit, setting aside time each day for study and reflection, treating their mind like a muscle that must be exercised regularly to maintain its strength and effectiveness. This commitment to continuous learning keeps them ahead of the curve, positions them to recognize opportunities that others miss, and provides them with the knowledge and skills necessary to capitalize on those opportunities when they arise. The fourth habit that separates millionaires from the masses is their extraordinary ability to build and maintain relationships, understanding that success is a team sport and that no one achieves great wealth entirely alone. They are master networkers, not in the shallow, self-serving way that most people think of networking, but in the genuine sense of building mutually beneficial relationships based on trust, respect, and shared value. They understand that your network determines your net worth, that the people you know and who know you can open doors that no amount of individual effort can open. They invest time and energy in relationships before they need them, giving freely of their knowledge, contacts, and resources without immediate expectation of return, knowing that what goes around comes around, often multiplied many times over. They remember names, they follow up on commitments, they celebrate others' successes, and they position themselves as valuable connections in the networks of others. They understand that in business, people buy from people they know, like, and trust, and they work constantly to build that know-like-trust factor with everyone they meet. They are generous with their time and attention. They listen more than they speak. They ask thoughtful questions, and they genuinely care about the success and well-being of others. This authentic approach to relationship building creates a powerful network of advocates, referral sources, partners, and opportunities that becomes more valuable with each passing year. They understand that relationships are like bank accounts, that you must make deposits before you can make withdrawals, and they are constantly making deposits in the form of value, assistance, connections, and goodwill. The fifth habit that millionaires master is the art of time management and prioritization, recognizing that time is the only truly limited resource, and that how you use your time determines your level of success more than any other factor. They understand that busy is not the same as productive, that activity is not the same as achievement, and that being in motion is not the same as making progress toward your goals. They are ruthless in their prioritization, focusing their time and energy on the activities that produce the highest return on investment, the tasks that move them measurably closer to their objectives. They use tools and systems to organize their time. They batch similar activities together for maximum efficiency. They delegate tasks that others can do so they can focus on tasks that only they can do. They understand the Pareto principle that 80% of their results come from 20% of their activities, and they work constantly to identify and focus on that crucial 20%. They plan their days in advance. They start with their most important tasks when their energy is highest, and they protect their time fiercely from the countless distractions and time wasters that plague the average person. They say no to good opportunities so they can say yes to great opportunities, understanding that every yes to one thing is a no to something else. And they choose their yeses carefully based on their alignment with their goals and values. They batch their email and phone calls into specific time blocks rather than allowing them to interrupt their day randomly. They minimize meetings and make those they do attend more productive, and they constantly seek ways to automate, systematize, or eliminate activities that do not directly contribute to their success. The sixth habit that defines millionaires is their disciplined approach to money management and investment, understanding that earning money is only half the equation and that keeping and growing money is equally important. They live below their means regardless of their income level, understanding that it is not how much you make but how much you keep that determines your wealth. They pay themselves first, automatically setting aside a percentage of every dollar they earn for investment and wealth building before they pay any other expenses. They understand the power of compound interest, that money invested wisely today will grow exponentially over time, and they begin investing as early as possible to give compound interest the maximum time to work its magic. They educate themselves about different investment vehicles. They diversify their portfolios to manage risk. And they think long-term rather than seeking quick profits. They understand that the wealthy use debt to acquire assets while the poor use debt to acquire liabilities. And they leverage other people's money wisely to accelerate their wealth building. They track their expenses meticulously, knowing exactly where every dollar goes. And they regularly review and adjust their spending to ensure it aligns with their values and goals. They automate their savings and investments so that wealth building happens without requiring constant willpower or decision-making, and they increase their savings rate as their income grows rather than simply increasing their lifestyle expenses. They understand that money is a tool for creating freedom and opportunity, not just for buying things, and they make financial decisions based on long-term wealth building rather than short-term gratification. The seventh habit that millionaires cultivate is the willingness to take calculated risks, understanding that security is largely an illusion and that the biggest risk is not taking any risks at all. They do not gamble or make reckless decisions, but they are willing to step outside their comfort zone when they see opportunities with favorable risk-reward ratios. They understand that all great fortunes were built by people who were willing to risk failure in pursuit of success, who were willing to leave the safety of the known for the possibilities of the unknown. They do their homework before taking risks, gathering information, analyzing potential outcomes, and creating contingency plans. But once they have done their due diligence, they act decisively without being paralyzed by the fear of failure. They understand that failure is not the opposite of success, but a stepping stone to success. That every failure brings them closer to the breakthrough they seek. They start businesses, they invest in new markets, they try new strategies, always with careful analysis, but without the paralyzing perfectionism that keeps most people stuck in mediocrity. They understand that the person who risks nothing may avoid failure, but will also avoid success, that you cannot steal second base while keeping one foot on first base. They calculate their risk carefully. They never risk more than they can afford to lose, but they are willing to risk something in order to gain everything. They understand that regret for things not attempted is far more painful than regret for things that were attempted and failed, and they would rather try and fail than never try at all. The eighth habit that separates millionaires from ordinary people is their extraordinary persistence and resilience in the face of obstacles, setbacks, and failures. They understand that success is not a straight line, that every worthwhile goal will be tested by challenges that would discourage most people from continuing. They develop mental toughness through experience, learning to bounce back from failures stronger and wiser than before. They understand that persistence is the quality that transforms ordinary people into champions, that the difference between those who succeed and those who fail is not talent or luck, but the willingness to keep going when things get tough. They study failure to learn from it. They adapt their strategies based on feedback from the marketplace, but they never give up on their dreams. They understand that most people quit just before they would have succeeded. That breakthrough often comes just after breakdown. And they persist through the difficult times, knowing that success may be just around the corner. They develop what I call intelligent persistence, the ability to persevere while remaining flexible about methods, staying true to their goals, while being willing to change their approach. They understand that obstacles are not barriers, but stepping stones, that problems are not roadblocks, but opportunities in disguise. And they train themselves to look for the lesson and the opportunity in every setback. They build support systems to help them through difficult times. They celebrate small victories along the way to maintain motivation. And they constantly remind themselves of their reasons for pursuing their goals. They understand that success is a process, not an event. And they commit to that process for the long term, regardless of short-term setbacks or disappointments. The ninth habit that millionaires practice consistently is their focus on serving others and adding value to the marketplace. Understanding that wealth is created by solving problems and meeting needs for other people. They do not ask how they can make money, but rather how they can serve more people better, knowing that money is simply a measure of the value they provide to others. They study their markets carefully to understand what people want and need, and they position themselves to provide those things better than their competition. They understand that the size of their income is directly proportional to the size of the problems they solve and the number of people they serve. And they constantly look for ways to expand both. They focus on becoming excellent at what they do, knowing that excellence is always rewarded in the marketplace, that people will pay premium prices for superior products and services. They build businesses and careers around their strengths and passions, understanding that when you love what you do and are naturally good at it, success becomes not just more likely, but almost inevitable. They study their customers and clients intensively, learning their needs, preferences, and pain points, and they develop solutions that address those issues better than anyone else in the market. They understand that reputation is one of their most valuable assets, and they work constantly to build and protect it by delivering exceptional value and service. They ask for feedback from their customers and use it to improve their offerings. They stay ahead of trends and changes in their industry, and they constantly innovate to maintain their competitive advantage. They understand that the businesses and careers that survive and thrive over the long term are those that remain valuable to their customers, and they work to ensure that their value proposition continues to strengthen over time. The 10th habit that millionaires master is the management of their physical and mental energy, understanding that wealth building is demanding work that requires peak performance over sustained periods. They understand that their body and mind are their most important tools, and they maintain them with the same care and attention they give to their most valuable investments. They exercise regularly, not just for appearance or health, but for the energy, focus, and mental clarity it provides, understanding that physical fitness directly impacts their ability to think clearly and perform at their best. They eat nutritious foods that fuel their body and brain for peak performance, avoiding the energy crashes and mental fog that come from poor dietary choices. They get adequate sleep because they understand that rest is not laziness, but a requirement for optimal performance, that a well-rested person can often accomplish more in 8 hours than an exhausted person can accomplish in 12. They manage stress through various techniques, such as meditation, deep breathing, or other relaxation methods, understanding that chronic stress impairs judgment and decision-making ability. They take breaks and vacations not as luxuries, but as investments in their long-term productivity and creativity, understanding that stepping away from work often provides the perspective and inspiration needed for breakthrough thinking. They surround themselves with positive, energetic people who lift them up rather than drain their energy, and they minimize exposure to negative influences that sap their enthusiasm and motivation. They understand that energy management is more important than time management, that it is better to work fewer hours at peak energy than more hours at low energy. They pay attention to their natural rhythms and schedule their most important work during their peak energy periods. They take care of their mental health through practices that reduce stress and increase resilience, and they maintain the enthusiasm and passion that initially drove them to pursue success.
The 11th habit that defines millionaires is their practice of gratitude and abundance thinking. Understanding that what you appreciate appreciates, and that a grateful heart attracts more to be grateful for. They start each day by acknowledging the blessings and opportunities in their life, not in a superficial way, but with genuine appreciation for how fortunate they are to be alive, healthy, and capable of pursuing their dreams. They understand that gratitude is not just a nice sentiment, but a powerful force that shapes their reality. That a grateful person sees opportunities where an ungrateful person sees only problems. They celebrate their successes, both large and small, understanding that acknowledgement of progress motivates continued effort and attracts more success. They express appreciation to the people who help them along the way, understanding that gratitude strengthens relationships and creates goodwill that returns to them multiplied. They focus on abundance rather than scarcity, believing that there is enough success, wealth, and opportunity for everyone who is willing to work for it. They do not resent others' success, but use it as inspiration and proof that success is possible, studying successful people to learn from their example rather than feeling threatened by their achievements. They give generously of their time, money, and expertise, understanding that generosity creates a flow of abundance that enriches everyone involved. They understand that a person with an abundance mentality sees opportunities everywhere, while a person with a scarcity mentality sees competition and limitation everywhere. And they choose abundance in their thinking and actions. They practice what they preach about abundance by sharing their knowledge freely, helping others succeed, and creating win-win situations whenever possible.
They understand that the universe rewards a generous spirit, that when you operate from abundance rather than scarcity, you attract abundance in return. The 12th habit that millionaires develop is their commitment to innovation and creativity, understanding that in a rapidly changing world, those who innovate lead while those who imitate. They constantly look for better ways to do things, whether in their business processes, their products and services, or their personal productivity system. They encourage creative thinking in themselves and others, understanding that one innovative idea can be worth millions of dollars and transform entire industries. They stay curious about the world around them, asking questions, exploring new possibilities, and remaining open to ideas that might seem unconventional or risky. They understand that innovation often comes from combining existing ideas in new ways, and they expose themselves to diverse influences and perspectives to stimulate their creative thinking. They set aside time for brainstorming and reflection, understanding that creativity requires space and time to develop, that breakthrough ideas often come when the mind is relaxed and free from pressure. They are not afraid to challenge conventional wisdom or question established ways of doing things, understanding that progress comes from those who are willing to think differently and act boldly. They encourage experimentation and tolerate failure as part of the creative process, understanding that innovation requires trial and error, and that not every idea will succeed. They protect their creative time and energy, avoiding the routine tasks and mundane activities that can stifle innovation and original thinking.
They collaborate with other creative people, understanding that innovation often emerges from the intersection of different perspectives and expertise. They study innovation in other industries and fields, looking for ideas and principles that can be adapted to their own situation, and they maintain a beginner's mind that remains open to learning and discovery throughout their career. The 13th habit that characterizes millionaires is their development of leadership and influence skills, understanding that wealth is often created through the ability to inspire and direct the efforts of others toward common goals. They study leadership not as a title or position, but as a set of skills and behaviors that can be learned and developed by anyone willing to make the effort. They understand that people follow leaders who have a clear vision, who can communicate that vision compellingly, and who demonstrate the character and competence to make that vision a reality. They work on their communication skills constantly, understanding that the ability to convey ideas clearly and persuasively is one of the most valuable skills anyone can possess. They learn to listen actively and empathetically, understanding that people want to feel heard and understood before they will follow someone's leadership. They develop emotional intelligence, the ability to understand and manage their own emotions, and to recognize and respond appropriately to the emotions of others. They build trust through consistency between their words and actions, understanding that trust is the foundation of all leadership, and that once lost, it is extremely difficult to rebuild.
They empower others to succeed, understanding that a leader's success is measured not by what they accomplish personally, but by what they enable others to accomplish. They take responsibility for results, both good and bad, understanding that leaders must be accountable for the outcomes of their decisions and the performance of their teams. They continue learning about leadership throughout their careers, studying great leaders of the past and present, reading books and articles about leadership, and seeking feedback from others about their leadership effectiveness. They understand that leadership is not about having all the answers, but about asking the right questions and creating an environment where others can contribute their best thinking and effort. They practice servant leadership, focusing on how they can serve their followers rather than how their followers can serve them. And they understand that true leadership is about creating value for others. The 14th habit that millionaires master is the creation of multiple streams of income, understanding that relying on a single source of income is risky and limiting, that true financial security comes from having several different ways to generate money. They diversify their income sources just as they diversify their investments, spreading risk and creating stability while also multiplying their earning potential. They understand that active income from jobs or businesses requires their constant presence and effort, so they work to create passive income streams that generate money even when they are not actively working.
They invest in rental real estate that provides monthly cash flow. They create intellectual property such as books, courses, or patents that generate royalties. They build businesses that can operate without their daily involvement. They understand that each income stream may start small, but can grow over time, and that the combined effect of multiple income streams can create wealth far beyond what any single source could provide. They reinvest the profits from one income stream to create additional streams, understanding that wealth builds upon itself when managed wisely. They look for opportunities to monetize their knowledge and experience, understanding that what they have learned in one area can often be packaged and sold to others who are earlier in their journey. They create systems and processes that allow their income streams to operate efficiently with minimal ongoing input from them, freeing their time to create additional streams or to focus on higher value activities. They understand that multiple income streams provide not just financial benefits, but also creative satisfaction and risk management, that having several different projects and interests keeps life interesting while also providing security. They study successful people who have created multiple income streams and adapt their strategies to their own circumstances and goals. And they remain patient with the process, understanding that building multiple streams takes time, but provides enormous benefits over the long term. The 15th and final habit that separates millionaires from the masses is their commitment to long-term thinking and delayed gratification, understanding that wealth is built over time through consistent actions, and that the ability to sacrifice short-term pleasures for long-term gains is one of the most important predictors of success. They make decisions based on where they want to be in 5, 10, or 20 years, rather than focusing only on immediate results or gratification.
They understand that compound interest works not just with money, but with all forms of investment, including time, effort, and relationships. And they are willing to make investments today that may not pay off for years, but will provide enormous returns over time. They resist the temptation to spend money on depreciating assets or temporary pleasures, when that money could be invested in appreciating assets or income-producing opportunities. They understand that every choice has both immediate and long-term consequences, and they weigh those consequences carefully before making decisions. They build their reputation and expertise over time, understanding that credibility and mastery cannot be achieved overnight, but require years of consistent effort and performance. They invest in relationships with a long-term perspective, understanding that the most valuable connections are often those that develop over many years and through multiple interactions and experiences. They set up systems and processes that may require significant effort to establish, but will save time and create value for years to come. They think generationally about wealth, not just seeking to accumulate money for themselves, but to create legacies that will benefit their families and communities for generations to come. They understand that the wealthy think in decades while the poor think in days, that the ability to delay gratification and work toward long-term goals is what separates those who achieve lasting success from those who struggle financially throughout their lives. They make short-term sacrifices willingly when they can see how those sacrifices contribute to their long-term objectives, and they maintain their focus on the bigger picture even when immediate results are disappointing or slow to materialize. These 15 habits are not suggestions or nice ideas, but the fundamental practices that separate millionaires from ordinary people. And the beautiful truth is that every single one of these habits can be implemented immediately by anyone with the desire and commitment to change their life. You do not need permission, you do not need credentials, you do not need capital or connections to begin practicing these habits today. What you need is the understanding that success is not an accident but the predictable result of specific causes, and when you align yourself with the same causes that have created millionaires throughout history, you position yourself to achieve similar results. The choice is yours, the power is within you, and the time is now to begin implementing these habits that will transform your thinking, your actions, and ultimately your life in ways that will astound and delight you for years to come.